All right, everybody, welcome back to another edition of Bourbon Banter Evans. The year is 2024. Looks like we might be doing another allocated video, but Justin, what are we doing today?
You know, it does look like this would be an allocated video. That is because a lot of these have recently come out with some brands that are recently on the market. So let's go ahead and discuss some market trends, market changes, primary, secondary,
Tertiary.
friends market, fair trade market, the meat market.
All the markets.
Yeah, all the markets. So that being said, cheers to you guys. Thanks for joining in.
Yep.
And I believe I will start with some old fits to start this conversation out with the market, because this has recently released a 13-year VVS at Heaven Hill Distillery, the red label, which we know you've got the black and the green that usually go to retail.
Yep.
This is the 8-year, that's the 10-year, and then there is the 13-year red one that just hit, which is the VVS. So let's go ahead and start with a little bit of the old.
Yep. Cheers. Hit that like and subscribe button. Love to hear your thoughts after you watch the video.
You know what I just said? Let's start with the 10-year. Uncut, unfiltered already.
Yep.
I even said we're going to start with the 8 first, but reverse it. Yeah. So that being said, we're talking about the trends in the market. This is kind of an important thing that a lot of people worry about to a degree, and some people don't worry about, but they just want to know how the market's doing, what the market's doing, and if they're into the whole flipping, or if they're using it as a collection and what the value is, then the market becomes important.
Right.
Then you have the other side of the market, which would be kind of like your primary and drinking market, meaning the people that are buying to drink. They want the market to go down so that they can drink at a lower price, whereas the people that are in the collecting or selling and flipping, if you want to call it that, we know that's a thing. We're not saying yay or nay to it. We just know that it exists.
Yep.
So that being said, we know that those people want to be at the top, the peak of the market, so they can make as much money as possible. Same thing like we had talked about in some of our other videos on collecting. You want the golf clubs to be worth as much as possible. You want your muscle car to be worth as much as possible when you go to sell your muscle car or golf club. Same thing with the people that are in the bourbon market for that reason. But like we are, we hope to get it as low as priced possible because they're going to be opened.
Yep, and you're probably going to watch a video on them. And the other thing is, what I see a lot of people doing is they're taking some of these, they're like, okay, I'm trading up just like you would with cars or anything else like that. Hey, I'm going to get this car. It's an old beater now. I'm going to fix it up. And then guess what? I'm going to trade it up for a new one. A lot of people are doing that with bottles too. So
right. And another, thing on the old Fitzgerald, again, what just came out is the 13-year. I encourage everybody to look at how old that 13-year is, because it's not just 13 years old. It's actually been around and tanked and then bottled for this specific reason. This is the 8 and the 10-year. Obviously, they're all bottled in bond. This is all the wheat mash. So some people can say, well, this old Fitz is a fancy 8-year larceny in a fancy decanter bottle. Hey, I'm never going to knock the decanter bottle because these bottles look fantastic.
Love them.
And so do I want the 13-year? Definitely. I definitely want some of that special juice that they save specifically for this release, for this anniversary that they're doing this at the distillery. Obviously, we know the red labels are for the distillery only.
Yep.
Which we won't get into the details of. There's always at least one store that has a bottle that's put out because that's the legalities and the way that works as far as distillery only bottles. But that bottle is somewhere in the $230 to $250 MSRP range based off of what I've heard people buying them for. More than likely $229.
Yep. But what I'm curious about is, what are you seeing the trend now in the secondary on it?
So based off of monitoring secondary, it started off really high, over $1,000 for that bottle. Man. And as everything else seems to be trending, for the most part, everything, not every bottle. Obviously, there's going to be some that are, the absolute outliers or the, special occasion that is going to be a special edition. That's going to be this, that are never going to change.
I think we pretty much know a few of those.
And then there's always some that are only going to exist a few times in the market, so that value is always going to be that no matter what.
Right.
And so at the time of these being produced and the newer bottles that are holding these secondary values, if you want to call them that, this one's already down. So well past over 1,000 when it first hit. Now we're down into the 700-800s. So that's a pretty big drop in a matter of weeks as far as being released. Now for the flippers, if you want to call them that, which is an old bourbon term. I mean, that started, I've been saying and hearing that for the longest time. I mean, that's a pretty big drop in hundreds of dollars. If you spent time, if you want to call it camping or waiting hours to get your $230 bottle, now that's just taking away time, energy, and effort if you have to ship it. Now, we do know that shipping is allowed in several states.
Yes.
It's allowed in several markets. I mean, you can go online and Google this stuff, the whole trade back and forth between DC and Kentucky and some of the fun stuff that happened there. So,
well, even some of the online liquor stores and everything that will ship out to specific locations and everything of that nature.
right. Now, I will say, one of the reasons I'm looking forward to the 13, other than the fact that it is the VVS and that it is some older juice that's been tanked and then now bottled, these 8 and 10 years are a whole lot better than I was expecting them to be.
That's good.
The first 8 year, I think it was a 9 year. No, this is an 8 year that came out right after the 9. The 9 year was good. The 8 year, the first one wasn't too impressive.
Yeah.
This one I like just fine. Now the
This one's
10 year,
good.
I think the 10 year is great.
Yeah.
So I like the 10 year better, but the 8 got no problems with it whatsoever. So I really look forward to sampling or trying the 13 year eventually when it comes out. But again, I'm hoping the market keeps adjusting to our benefit.
Yeah, exactly. Because then that allows us, hey, that's something we can put out here, maybe on a video, or if you've had it before, let us know. Let us know what your thoughts are on it.
Is it worth the chase? Is it worth us going, seeking, trading, and or camping, waiting,
Right.
and standing there in the morning waiting for them to release if they are releasing any, and things of that nature. And speaking of releasing, let's not forget, again, cheers to you guys. Hope you got a nice pour to join in.
Yep.
Our calendar is coming up on May.
Yes, it is.
So our bourbon calendar will be here as soon as May 1.
Yep.
And probably before then, obviously we won't make sure it's too late, in the May month. And that's coming up as in this is April, late April. That being said, moving on to another bottle that seems to be doing different in the market, which we haven't gotten to yet, but we'll, to keep this video flowing. And the next one directly to it is Old Forester Birthday Bourbon.
Yep.
Now, this one trends differently compared to the Old Fitz's, depending on, I swear it depends on quality and people dictating what they're willing to pay for those. Old Fitz, I think, depends on the year.
Yep.
Because I've seen some specific that are going to remain and some drop.
Yep.
And
I think, to me, the Old Fitz follows a lot of like what the William Heaven Hill does, to be honest with you. I think they kind of are very similar in how I've seen the market go with those.
yeah. Speaking of William Heaven Hill, can we verify that I do have bourbon socks on?
Oh, yes, you do.
And obviously, I'm a Heaven Hill fan today because of the Old Fitz, so I tried to match my apparel to that. That's okay. Now back to the Old Forester. We all know this is released on George Garvin Brown's birthday as the person that started this whole situation. Hence the GBG on there, or GGB depending on how you read it.
Yeah.
But it's George Garvin Brown, so I guess it'd be GGB,
Yeah.
not GBG.
Uncut, unfiltered.
Uncut, unfiltered, but it's still depending on how you read it. But we know it's George Garvin Brown. That being said,
Yeah.
in our calendar, we did dedicate September to that actual day.
Yes, we
so
did.
that would be the background for that calendar that we mentioned before. This is the 2023 release.
Right.
It is not trending as well in the market as the 2021 release.
Which I'm curious, is it all because of hype and everything else like that? Because of what's been out there, or what? What
I
are
think
your
it
thoughts?
has to do with that release, the year, meaning the age of the release, the proof, and in the quality of the barrels that were selected for that particular batch. 2021 seems to be staying steady around the price that it is. Now, this is secondary market just monitoring, and 2023 has dropped a little bit. But things that are still doing really well are some of your original birthday bourbon releases.
Right.
Your really old ones, like 2013, 14,
Well, I mean,
2012.
To me, is it kind of very similar to what the first the one that we're not as fond of, that 8? I if I remember correctly,
the very first.
very first 8. What it did is it was up there, and then it
fell.
trended down quite a bit.
And now you don't really hear much about it.
No, not at all.
And so there are particular ones that are trading for more or less, if you want to call it that, in the birthday bourbon world. And the 2023 is one of those that is less than some of the other ones.
Yep.
And originally starting was 2020.
Right.
Now 2020, because of the whole time change and things like that, since 2020 created a huge buzz, that one is down compared to 2020, but is now back up compared to where it fell down to. So that's another thing that I want to bring up in the market. Now, we're still talking about secondary market. We're
Right
going to get
now.
to primary market, or your standard market, if you want to call it here in a second. So as far as that goes, 2020 created a situation where people were told to stay at home, shelter in place. They were told to not be able to go out into the work. They're going to be working from home. So then the market creates this scenario to where now the people that are able to have the jobs, that are able to go out and find these, get these, buy these, are now able to ship it to markets that are not able to do that because they're locked down.
Right.
So they're willing to pay more because they can't physically put any resources into getting them. So why not spend the extra on making sure they can acquire the bottle when it was so challenging because you didn't know when we were going to be released out into the wild, if you want to call it that, go back to our jobs at an office.
Right.
Which created a huge I guess if is it an uptake, like go up?
Yeah, I think so.
Huge amount, an increase for price values.
Yes.
And so some bottles, which we're not going to name names as far as that goes, but we do know that some of these bottles that used to be $350, like so $300 to $350,
Right.
$1,000.
Yeah.
That bottle now, which we were talking about before we started the camera, is now down to $675. That's great for us that want to drink it.
Yeah.
Not great for those that thought that they were going to buy up all these bottles and then
have a ton of
small
stuff sitting on
fortune
it.
if they wanted to sell them per se, or hold on to them and have an estate sale later on in life, if you want to call it.
Right. So let me ask you this. So put you on the spot here. So we're talking about secondary. What are your thoughts on the primary? Are they kind of trending in the same as of right now? Are they trending in the same direction?
So that's what's interesting is the secondary is on a downtrend in price, but the primary is on an uptrend.
Yeah, seems to be on an uptrend.
So let me get this straight. We're going to spend less money on these bangers, big bottles on secondary, but we're going to charge more for them in the primary. So you go to the store, expect to pay more.
It's almost like, to me, it's kind of something that I've had in the back of my head. Are the store owners seeing a trend on the secondary and they're like, hey, I can add a little bit more, maybe make a little bit more, but still nowhere near what somebody's going to be charging on the secondary, and kind of evening that out a little bit?
I definitely think that is
I'm not saying everybody's doing that. I think that there are trends of that happening that I see out.
Oh, I 100% agree and think that is definitely what some people, not all,
Right.
are doing. They're trying to find that happy medium. I'm not going to sell it at MSRP. I'm not going to sell it at secondary. That rhymed.
Yeah.
It could have been secondary,
Yeah.
MSRP. But I will have a happy medium to where I make extra money, so expect to spend it more at the store, but you're still undervalued, which the people still appreciate.
Correct.
The fact that they got a little bit of a deal and didn't have to pay full secondary, because secondary is large enough to where now you can just Google it. That's not the true secondary market. We know that.
That's true.
But now you have enough people that know how to Google, and if they see that price on the shelf, they're like, no, not happening.
Right.
Not happening. Not going to spend that kind of money. It's not worth that. And so there's enough people that are in these markets that we can actually get enough data and actually probably put, a good flow chart if you wanted to, or a pie chart, percentages.
Yeah. There is a time around this area of our woods that we do see secondary prices out in the wild, though.
Oh yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
we can thank you to the magical situation that happens in our market, aka Bourbon Banter Evans, bring home the Masters people.
Yep.
And so we did just watch a video, and it was a bourbon hunter that came to Masters timing, aka Augusta, for the Masters week and to see what was available. And not to say anything negative or positive, or even promote or not promote his video.
Right.
But there was a lot of things that were stated on there for somebody that you can tell is not from the area.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with that. He will learn. They will learn.
Right.
Everybody will learn. It's a learning situation when you know the area and you don't know the area. And it's just like if anybody else comes through and we see these other bourbon sites.
Yeah.
Hey, coming through Augusta, is there anything in there? Well,
Yeah.
there's only one way to find out.
Yeah.
And so
Just like when we go anywhere else, we have to learn our way. We have to learn our way around also.
Yeah, exactly. And it just so happens that we're kind of well versed in certain traveling areas, but there's some that we have never been into.
Right.
And so it created a different scenario for us watching the video. And, we're thinking about discussing it at some point and going further into it, but there's really no need right now.
Yeah.
So back to the market.
But it was just curious at that point in time in the marketplace. Like I've said, when we were talking about that, you will see an increase in that time in our market, because it brings in thousands upon hundreds of thousands of people.
Oh, yeah. And then, like I said, back to the market, meaning that Augusta market.
Yep.
So that Augusta market is not to hold the other 51 weeks accountable.
No.
Which is now starting to be about 50 because of the ladies amateur, which is really bringing in a crowd as well. So kind of give or take those 2 weeks out. So you've got 50 weeks out of the year that you might want to come here. And then the 2 weeks out of the year that you can expect the secondary pricing on the shelf, but you can expect to see the bottles because, Masters patrons brings in a different personnel. And
Yes,
that
it does.
personnel is a different shopping category. And that's all I can say. But, I mean...
It's not. It is what it is. I mean, you run a business, you try to make money in your business, and I'm not going to fault anybody for doing that.
Yeah, I mean, that's capitalism at its best.
Yep.
So, obviously there's legalities to certain things. You can't do some things,
Right.
but, there's no rule in Georgia that says you can't put an extra $300, and that's just using a number, on top of a bottle. If you have a $5 bottle of vodka If you want to sell it for $3,500, that's up to you.
Mini bottle of Fireball, increase it by 1,000%.
Yeah. It doesn't mean it's going to sell, but
Right.
you have the right to put the price on there.
Exactly.
Yeah. We just know in Georgia you can't sell below cost.
Right.
That's one of the state rules as far as that goes, or laws. So back to birthday bourbon, and we'll close that one out. Now, based off of what I do know, there's a specific person that we can go into a master taster, and then when she put out some of her bottles, actually that was Jackie Zykan. I got to meet her in 2017 at a Old Forester barrel pick that we did, and then her first release came out, then her second release came out, and then obviously we know Jackie's now moved on to, I think, was it Hidden Barn, Broken Barn, something Barn.
Yep.
Broken
Barn. I don't know.
Hidden Barn.
Yeah.
Broken Barn. It's a barn.
Yeah. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, please let us know what barn it is.
Put that in the comments, guys.
It's obviously not in our area, so we're not as well versed to I mean, we know what the product is, and it's got a cool bottle. I can describe the bottle, I can describe the label. I just went blank on the name, so I just think it's funnier just to say something barn.
Yep.
But that being said, when she was doing those specific releases and then notifying the description on the tags that birthday bourbon comes with, so there are some people that are specifically after her specific releases that she picked for some of those extra spice notes that she had talked about on those labels. So some of those still bring a good value as far as that goes. But what's interesting though, back to primary. So now we're gonna morph it in if you allow.
No, let's do it.
Secondary can change. This
All the time.
is a 2023. It can be less. The 2021 can be more.
Right.
But if you have any specific birthday bourbon, not picking on them, it could be Old Fitz too. It doesn't matter what this is, the year meaning, on the shelf, if you have birthday bourbon, more than likely, it's gonna be whatever that retailer Googled first and put the price on there.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what the year is. They don't go up and down with theirs like secondary actually does. Primary just goes up with a plain price.
Yep. Or an increase of whatever they decided to take or whatever else they have to. So
yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've noticed with birthday bourbon. Secondary goes up and down depending on the year for sure. Primary is pretty much if you've got one, they're like, oh, I've got one. It doesn't matter what the year is.
Right.
I'm gonna put this price tag on it. And it's always more than MSRP.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I will say about primary, it seems like everything, and I bet you everybody notices this right now, everything is trending upwards. And we've already said that. It's just the price of anything is going up. $5, $10.
It's almost inflation.
Yeah.
Just on its whole. So now, as we move on to a little brand called Lucky 7.
Oh, yeah.
And you're probably thinking, wait a minute. If we're talking about secondary, why in the world did you pick a random brand like Lucky 7? Because Lucky 7 is on secondary and in primary. Now, it's not on primary in our area, but I've been to Kentucky. Charles has been to Kentucky. Danny in the background's been to Kentucky. Multiple people have been to Kentucky and seen these in store.
Yes.
Let me mention again, the most fantastic looking cork.
Yep. That is cool.
As far as the
With
cork
the diamonds.
itself. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Argyle, whatever you want to call it.
Yep. Chevrons.
Yeah. We don't know who is married. Or That being said, this, depending on what year it is, proof, and if it's a store pick, because I have a couple ones in the background, that was a 14-year store pick. They have gone up about double what it was when we were first able to get them. Originally, you could get them for their MSRP, which was expensive. We know they're sourced.
Right.
Now, they are on a steady uptrend. Whereas these are all over the place. Those are this is constantly going up.
Tell you what, this is the first time I've had it. It's good.
I don't dislike any of the Lucky 7s.
Yeah, this is the first time I've had this one. It is very good. I'm impressed.
The first time I tried a 6-year, I was at Merrill's Whiskey Kitchen in Louisville. Okay. And it wasn't my favorite.
But it wasn't bad.
But it wasn't bad.
Right.
Yeah.
We've had that a few times. But hey, everybody, give us your comments in there. Hit that like and subscribe button. Let us know what you're thinking. If you've tried some of these, if you have any thoughts on some of the Old Fitzes that we've been talking about, especially the 13-year.
If there's a bottle on this table that you guys are really after and been wanting to try it, reach out to us. Let us know. You're in our local area. Meet up with us sometime. Let's discuss some bourbon. Let's discuss it on video.
And try
the control.
Yep.
We're not kidding when we say you're welcome to come try these things versus our control. That's a complete truth. Now, the Lucky 7, that would definitely be up to the owner of the bottle.
Yeah.
Same as a couple of these other bottles. We get a lot of generous people that let us use some of their bottles to talk about.
A lot of them.
But that doesn't mean that we don't have bottles that are not available as well. Right. And that doesn't mean we don't monitor secondary to see if we can't figure out how to acquire certain ones in different states and meet up, obviously, to follow and comply with rules as far as that goes. Lucky 7, We know that's in Kentucky.
Yep.
Been to Tottie's in downtown Bardstown, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
And my stupid self didn't buy every single one that was available at the time, because now they're all double the price that they were originally years and years ago when I first saw them in the retail scenario. And I think it's a good sourced
Well, it's
whiskey.
it's the way it happens. I mean, I remember going in and being able to find Pappy's all the dang time on the shelves and everything else like that.
He said it. He said Pappy's.
I did.
That's uncut on.
I'm the Pappy.
Yeah. That's uncut on filter
Yes.
right there.
But it's
Winkles.
the Winkles, the PVWs.
yeah.
Sorry, but I remember seeing them on shelves and just be like, I'll come back. Nah, I don't need one of those. And now I'm kicking myself in the rear.
Oh, well,
I think everybody, if you saw it on the shelf now, is probably doing that.
everybody's doing that.
Yep.
Yeah. And you know, back to mention a little bit of the 2020 and the PVW. So if we're gonna go PVW, if you're gonna bring up the Winkle word, which is like a buzzword in the terms of sometimes you don't speak about, if we're gonna bring that up, you talk about spike, and you talk about a necessary item that everybody had to have was the 2020s, and then it took about 3 to 4 years to finally bring it down to price. It's still way up in price.
It is.
But it is down compared to what 2020 was. But it doesn't compare to what it was that day that I walked into that random store in Georgia and picked up a Rip 10 on the bottom shelf next to Barry Old Barton for $50.
$50. Yep,
That was
I
a good
remember
day.
that. That was a great day.
Yeah, it was a great
I got a phone call about that one,
Yeah.
but no, it's crazy. But that is one, and I don't know if you'll agree with me on this one, Justin. But on the secondary market, they stay pretty steady. They do fluctuate, but I don't see them fluctuating as bad as some of the other ones, as a Fitzgerald or something of that nature.
So I will agree to you to an extent.
Okay.
And this is my extent, because I'm going to put the caveat on there to clarify. PVW stays steady.
Yes.
12s and 10s, aka your rips and your lots. So your rip 10s and your
Rip
lot
10,
Bs,
lot Bs.
those have gone down significantly more. But your PV,
Yes.
so your face bottles,
Yes.
you're starting at 15s, those have stayed
15s.
more steady.
Yeah, and the one thing tends to me tend to those are the ones that fluctuate the most. I think the lot Bs to me, I agree with you, but lot Bs do not fluctuate within. I would say they're within at least 100 to 150 usually.
Yeah.
You're not seeing the big fluctuations like 300, 400.
Now let's do a quick comparison. Those bottles, since we're on this, since you brought it up,
I brought it up.
primary.
Yes.
All we've seen is an uptake, no matter
Correct.
what. That is on a steady.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, they're taking increases every year.
single year,
Yeah.
you're going to see them go up. Now, that I think is in part to Googling and just seeing random prices. Like, hey, it's called fishing.
Yep. Very
And
valid
fishing
point.
is one of those things you just throw the hook in the water and wait till you get a bite. And if you get a bite, you reel it in, right?
Very valid point.
So why not go fishing for that higher price? Again, these people are capitalists. They're going to make money when they can make
Yep.
money. Or what my grandfather used to say, make hay while the sun is shining.
Yep.
So, throw that hook in the water, you miss all the shots you don't take. So if they're going to go on the primary market, aka your retail store right down the road from you, you can't sell it and make all that extra money if you don't put the price tag on there.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah.
And everything, what it comes down to is honestly, it's all the consumer. It's all up to the consumer. Secondary market's only there because the consumer's there. If the consumer never bought it, guess what? Secondary would not be there anymore. And the same thing, prices are what they are because of inflation, most likely, and everything else in the primary market. But if the consumer doesn't buy it at exorbitant rates, they're not going to be able to sell it.
Isn't
it's
there
going to come down.
something about that? What was it? Something is only worth what somebody else is willing to pay for.
Exactly.
Isn't that a saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Like your car is only worth what somebody else is willing to pay for.
Yep.
Or your watch,
Yeah.
which mine is beat to crap. But that being said, it's not worth anything to somebody else. But it's yellow and I like it.
Yep.
And this is an open bottle. That's worth 20 cents to me now.
Correct.
Because if you take it to certain states and recycle enough of the glass, you might get some money back.
Right.
A nickel.
But no, I mean, that's what's funny. But it's good to see. I think it's interesting to see these trends. I think this was a great video for us to do. Great. I mean, just great overall content, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%. This is actually really interesting. So this is one of those that is at this present moment.
Yeah, literally right now.
This is what the market's trending right now. Now, if we'd have done this 4 years ago in 2020, we'd be talking about, holy cow, primary's way up in the store, but at the same time, secondary is just through the roof, and now some of it's coming down. There's nothing wrong with that. People have to pay to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what we're seeing is they're paying less to play on secondary, but it's not reflecting in the retail scenario on primary.
Correct. Yep. No, and it's also like you would think of 2021. Okay, yeah, 2021 things were kind of coming better, but guess what happened? Then you ran out of glass. You ran out of didn't have enough people to ship things and everything else. So what did that do? Drives it all up.
Price up, yeah.
Yep. So it's been a fun video.
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely. And so again, comment. Again, cheers. Thank you guys for joining in. What's in your glass? Like I always say. Hopefully you have something in your glass while you're enjoying this. Let us know what you think about some of these things on the table. And don't forget, we're getting low on this. We will replenish eventually.
Yeah.
Unless you guys come here and want to try it and compare to one of these. So the secondary market on our control is limitless or
very limited?
very limited or
Well, I mean, when it's
no value whatsoever? Unvalued? No.
I don't know. I guess you got to come here and sit down and try it,
figure
find
it
out.
This could be the most amazing inexpensive or the most amazing expensive stuff you've ever had, depending on what it is. So not to discount the secondary of our amazing control, I don't think it has a secondary.
Might not.
Maybe it does.
I don't know.
Interesting. But I can't wait to try it versus one of these on the table.
I know. I'm looking forward to that. Honestly, guys, like and subscribe. Let us know what your thoughts are. Give us your comments and everything. Honestly, we want to know anything you have to say, and if you want to be a part of it, put it in the comments too. We'd love to have you guys come here, try the control like Justin was saying, and bring a bottle of your own if you want to.
Yeah, you don't have to be on camera if you don't want to. You can always be in the background.
Yep.
And you can always reach out and ask questions from there, and we can go from there. It kind of keeps it going. But this is one of those ongoing videos. We could go on for hours about the market currently, but we're going to try to keep this as short as we can. We picked a couple of bottles because of what's new trending right now as far as what's going on. And I will mention one more if we have a couple more seconds.
Yep,
so we're going to end it with this. If that's okay.
Yeah.
Heaven Hill 18.
Oh, I forgot about this.
Just came out, I don't know, a month or so ago, maybe 2 months.
2 months.
And it's now hitting primary, and we've gotten a couple in the area, and they were a good price. And then we saw what the MSRP was. Secondary came out well past 1,000, just like the old Fitz's did.
Yeah.
And then now it has dropped into the 7 to 8s.
Yeah.
So what's interesting to me is how big that swing was in a short time, which makes me wonder a few things. And I would really like some feedback on this. Have you tried the Heaven Hill 18? Was it not what you thought it was? Was it everything you thought it was and more? Was it not worth the price? Why did it suddenly drop $400 to $500 in value on secondary?
Yeah, what are your thoughts? I mean, right now it leads me to my initial thought is the quality of it isn't what people were expecting.
Yeah.
That's where I automatically go. If that's the truth, I have no idea. I haven't tried it.
And Charles and I cracked a Heaven Hill 17, I believe, when Tennessee beat Alabama.
Yes, we did.
For a monumental time for the Tennessee fan. Well, LSU fan as well.
Oh, yeah.
It's always a good time.
Always a good time when Alabama loses.
Yeah. So that was an amazing, to this date, still amazing bourbon.
Yes, it is.
That has not changed in value.
No. That's why that's a curious one. Put it in the comments. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, let us know your honest thoughts on that. So we'll cut this one off on the current market right now, but stay tuned for the possibility of another market. And also, don't forget, we will let you guys know when and if the calendar comes out. There's no if. It's when it comes out. And if you want one, we can reach to you, or you can reach out to us, and we can tell you how to get the bourbon calendar to write your own dates on when you're doing your own tastings and things like that.
Yeah, no, and to reiterate what Justin just said, this is just the start of this one. Who knows, in 6 months we might be having another one of these because it's gone way up, or it could be keeping trending down.
Market swings.
Yep.
Market swings. So cheers to you guys.
Cheers.